Atala Dorothy Toy is an eco-artist and documentarian, renowned for her unique exploration of nature beings, angels, and interdimensional entities. Through her photography and writings, she captures the stories embedded in natural elements like trees and rocks, revealing the hidden lives of other than human life forms. Toy is the author of several influential books, including Nature Spirits, Spirit Guides, and Ghosts, where she shares insights on communicating with these beings. Her work emphasizes the intelligence and ancient wisdom of nature spirits, inviting a deeper connection with the natural world and its mystical dimensions.
I think it's really important for everyone to allow for the possibility that there are other life forms in the universe that have other abilities and that may be waiting to work with you. If you are a botanist, if you're an artist, if you're a sports person, there are energies that have spent eons specializing in that particular quality. And if you just call on them to work with them, then we can expand the sense of cooperation between dimensions, and we can expand the abilities of humans in our Earth. The next time that you think that you hear a flower talking to you or your animal talking to you, don't just say, oh, it's my imagination. Just say, perhaps that animal is, and then let's see how I can connect to it, improve it. And a real authentic guide or help from the other dimensions, they will always ask you to test them.
Atala, welcome to the podcast of Seekers and Finders 2024. It's great to see you. It's been quite a while. So how are you?
I'm fine. Nice to see you, Stefan. Nice to see you, Gary. It's been a few years, but
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first question that people would like to know is how you got the name Atala. I mean, you call yourself Atala Dorothy Toy. If you could explain the meaning of the word Atala.
Sure. Like many women, if you take Atala Toy apart, you get to my maiden name, Dorothy Perry. Then you get the other parts put in, Toy from an ex-husband and Atala from an ex-guru. And the Atala is Sanskrit. It means the inner earth. And it's supposed to be my soul's quality. And since I did not actually know then, but I knew later, is that I have an affinity with the inner earth nature beings. And that's my profession now, is photographing them.
And you're really involved in so many different things. I mean, you are a photographer. You go out into nature and you photograph nature spirits, and you have interdimensional communication. So my first question to you is, how did your journey into communicating with nature spirits begin, and what was the pivotal moment that solidified your belief in their existence?
Aha. Well, my seg into interdimensional communications is where it began. All my life, I've communicated with life forms of other dimensions. I wasn't aware of it until quite late in life. I joined a yoga group that focused on connecting to cosmic deities, so that became familiar to me. Then I went to work at the United Nations, where I got ill, and I came in touch with angels who helped me to heal myself. I did not know one could talk to angels till they talked to me. And then many years after that, I was up in my family place in New Hampshire, and I knew there was something in the cottage with me, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I kept scanning, meditating on it. And after 3 days, this gnome materialized in front of me. And so I recognized the energy. I've been looking for him, and he got tired of trying to make me go away. So he decided to be friends. And we came to a pact that when I was up there on vacation, he got the garage. When I left, he could come back and have the house. And to say thank me, because nature beings are always taught to be polite and say to offer gifts if you help them. And it was a very nice cottage. He said, would you like me to take you out and show you how to photograph a mossberry? Well, I had never ever seen a gnome before, but there he was in front of me, and now he wanted to teach me to photograph a mossberry, and I never seen a mossberry before. So I said, sure. And he took me out, and we traipsed through all of our acreage into a little place I'd never been before. And there it was. He taught me how I got a photograph of a mossberry, and that was the start of my work.
So before I go into the next question, I'm going to tell a story of my own that I think will kind of give some credibility, or everybody will think I'm nuts, to this whole conversation that we're having. And the story is about photographing weddings, which I'm a photographer, an event photographer. And Linda and I photographed weddings through the 90s and into as late as 2019. And one of the weddings that we had, I was sitting in the chapel during the ceremony, and the groom was from Spain. The bride was from America, but the groom was from Spain. She had gone over to Spain and met the groom, and he didn't speak any English, as well as his family that came over did not speak any English. So they brought in a Franciscan monk from Morristown to translate after the minister in the church said what he had to say during the ceremony. The monk would translate for the people that were there, and which meant that it was going on for quite some time. Now, I was sitting in one of the pews towards the back, taking photographs with a long lens. And as I was sitting there, the bride was on the left side, the groom was on the right, and an angel manifested itself in midair, hovering above the bride. And I mean, the angel was probably about 12 or 15 feet high. It was fluttering up there, and I was like, I closed my eyes, blinking. I couldn't believe it, and it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wings, it was moving its wings, and everybody else was still going on with the ceremony, and all of a sudden, from inside the angel, coming out past the wings, was this image of, I would say, a young boy around 10 or 11 years old that looked similar to the groom, same coloring and everything like that. And I was really amazed. And, the little boy floated over around the two of them, and then went back inside the angel. And the angel floated there for, a good 5 or 6 minutes, and then went back into the inner worlds. So now I started to cry. I mean, I was so moved by it. And I told Linda after the ceremony was over, as we're walking out, she saw that my face was tear-filled. And she asked me what was going on. I told her. The bride and groom went on their honeymoon, and they were coming back to get their photographs into our photography studio. And I said to Linda before they came in, should I say anything? I mean, she said, I'm not sure. I don't think you really, I don't know how they'll take it if you tell them about the angel. Anyway, they came into the studio, and they were sitting down on the couch, and we were going over the photographs and everything, and we got to the point of the ceremony, and there was this one shot that I had taken of them on the altar, and I said, I got to tell you something. It's too powerful a situation, and I hope you appreciate it. So I'm telling the bride the story, and I see her go wide-eyed, and the groom sees her go wide-eyed, and she starts to tear up, and she starts to translate to the groom. Now they're both in a state of wonder, especially when I got to the point of the little boy. And I mean, they went on to have a beautiful life. They got their wedding album. I never heard from them after that. But this was my experience. So with that said, I'm with you, Atala.
All right.
They're there. I see them. I've seen others, and I that's just my nature, and I guess it's your nature. You got blessed with it. So my next question is, and I'm reading from questions that I wrote down. So, um, what are some of the most profound or surprising encounters you've had, besides with the gnome, with nature spirits or interdimensional beings?
Um, I have to say, when I first started working with them, it was the most amazing thing because I I was really sick at the United Nations, and I was actually told I was going to die because I had electromagnetic frequency poisoning. And at that point, I was so sick, I really didn't care. And at that point, uh, these beings came in. It turns out that they were, those who know them call them the three M's. It's the archangels Metatron, Michael, and Melchizedek. And they said to me, you could leave this earth and nobody would fault you. You wouldn't be committing suicide. You could just die. And then they love this pregnant pause. They have a great sense of humor. Or you could work with us, and we will help you to heal yourself and teach you then how to help others heal themselves. And then I went, and I thought a minute, and then I thought, well, I've never worked with angels before, so maybe I'll try that. And then that was my start, and that's when the 3Ms are really working with a lot of people nowadays individually because it's such an unusual thing to be working with them. So I worked with each of those three for like 3 months at a time, and I learned all about them. And I learned that all of our guides and our angels, each of us have them if we want to recognize them and work with them. They have certain qualities, certain abilities, and you can test them to make sure they're real. And then you have someone that's always there to assist you if you need it, but who makes you grow yourself to become a better and bigger person. So that's my most profound working with them.
Can you describe, going back to the gnome that you saw,
Mm-hmm.
uh, can you describe the ethereal state of it, how it manifested itself in front of you? Was there some kind of uh, interdimensional thing between the physical realm and them, like being on the astral plane or something like that?
See, I'm a very simple person, okay, and I'm not big on the philosophy. I know what everything that's happened to me is things I never asked for or expected. They just happened, and then I had to deal with the fact that I was experiencing this and that I'm not crazy. So we went through that whole sequence. I am not crazy. I am having this experience. What does it mean? So when these beings appear, they are and then if I were going to describe it, it's like um, like waves. They're in another dimension, but they come in and I can see them. And we communicate through the universal language, which goes through the heart, which if you look at it is geometric forms and it's in Merkabahs. And there's a universal translator. So they are so loving and so open that actually a lot of them are now my best friends. I mean, my best friends are from other dimensions. And I see them and I communicate with them more authentically than I do with humans. Because humans, we put a shield and we let other people see what we want them to see. But with the nature beings and the spirit guides and the angels, we see who we are all the way through, and we accept ourselves and each other for who we are in universal love. And that's just a more authentic way for me. I like that better.
Did you develop any specifically a specific training or technique that heightened your awareness of these beings? And did you get to the point where it just became, you could wake up in the morning and just see them, without having to do any meditation or anything like that?
Okay, well, now this is interesting, Stefan, because this goes back to my 28 years in a yoga group where we had 24-hour meditations. And that's a lot of time to be sitting in your seat. So part of a lot of meditation is, for many people, especially men, is to silence the mind and go into nothingness. Well, I'm a woman. Women like to talk. So I would go in and eventually towards the end of my time, and I was going in and silencing my mind and all. And then these voices said to me, well, we could not talk, but wouldn't you rather converse with us and we can tell you who we are and what we do? And I went like, oh, son of a gun. I didn't know that could be. So I learned to go in and look at as consciousness and at streams of consciousness and dimensions as rooms. And the Melchizedeks taught me at this time, they were coming in and teaching me as well. They taught me how to go in, see myself in a room, clear it out, and see who was in the room, what energy that I could communicate with. And when you're communicating, I know you guys are into non-duality, all right? So, which is my big thing as well. So, one consciousness, all you have to do is identify with that aspect of the consciousness you want to communicate with, and then you can communicate. You're communicating in that stream of consciousness. So that is the way that I had been working. Now, when I started working with the nature beings, the best way for anybody who's a reader is to, one of your listeners, if you work on a common project with a nature being, then you have a commonality, a common stream of consciousness going between you. And that makes it easier for you to see. So if you go out in your say in your backyard, somebody goes out there and there's a project. Over there, you see a big mess under a tree, all the branches down. Well, if you go over and you salute the energy of the tree and you say, I would like to work with you, not do something for you, and but work with you, let's clean this up and make it beautiful, then immediately the nature beings they see inside where your energy is coming from, who you are. So they see if you're working from ahimsa, non-harm to any living being, and then they can come in and they connect, because nowadays they need us. We are mucking up Earth so badly that any human being that expresses any interest in working with them authentically, they're going to help and work with. So that's how I wanted to work with them. I ended up with a contract with them to take their photographs, And they are open to any human being who wishes to do the same.
So now let's talk about your photographs for a second, because I'm going to show them on screen as you do. Can you describe, knowing which photographs that you've sent me, can you describe what you see in them, how you direct your energy towards them when you photograph them, and what we should look like, what we should look for when looking for nature spirits?
Yeah, and I meant to write it down and I didn't, but one of the main ones that I like to show is one that uh, ties into the Navajo tradition, and it's the rescue of the humans by the ant people, is what I call it. And it's a large sandstone cliff in Garden of the Gods in Colorado. And on that, which is red sandstone, the nature beings have carved a white sandstone bas relief of commemorating the two times that the nature beings rescued the animals and the humans at two of the changes of the worlds. We're in the fourth world now, moving into the fifth. So at that change, when there was once, I think, through fire and once through ice, the ant beings brought some humans and some animals into the inner earth, where they protected them until they could go back out again. And to seal the pact made between those three species, they carved that agreement on this huge, huge rock face. So you can see on the looking right is a profile of an ant being, and on the left you see an Indian, and underneath the Indian you see a mountain lion. And every summer, actually, the Utes come to powwow at Garden of the Gods, and they do ceremony in front of this cliff. So this is a very special, this is one of my most special ones that I've taken. The nature beings showed it to me themselves. I was up there photographing. I was just taking a picture of the pretty cliff and the grass, and then the nature beings came. And what they do is they come. I salute them when I go out to photograph and tell them what I'm there for. And then if they see anything, they come and they speak with me. So the was a female nature being, and she said, "Well, do you see anything?" And I said, "No, I see a pretty cliff." This is my early days of photographing. And she said, "Look again." And then what you do when you're looking at these, you have to adjust your frequency, you know, how you're looking at this. So I kept it, I adjusted, and all of a sudden, like, wonk, and there it is. I'm going like, how come I didn't see it? Same thing when I take people out for workshops. They don't see anything, and I go, "Look, just adjust." And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's right there. So, I think that's special. And then I can go in more on how they actually do the construction if you're interested, but
I am interested, but when you say they speak to you, do you actually hear their voices
yeah,
outwardly, or are you just hearing them inwardly?
inwardly.
Okay. So I've also been out because I'm on your Facebook page,
Right.
and your Facebook page is called.
Nature beings around the world.
Great. Okay. So people should check it out. It's really wonderful, because other people are finding these as I did. And since I joined, I started to try and make myself a little more aware of what was out there. And I'd like to talk about trees right now, because I have been noticing that, when people see knots or disfigurations in the tree, um, they sometimes look as though there's a face there. Can you talk about that for a second?
Sure. There's something called pareidolia, and that is the human propensity to see anything with two eyes and a dot as a face. and even if there's nothing there. So, but what we are doing is, and people will often say, "Oh, you're seeing that's pareidolia. There's not really a face there." But when you can build up a whole collection of photos with stories and all, that it's different. These are life forms who have crafted, it's their culture to craft a message or an image or their image in a tree or a rock. And it so happens that that tree and rock can be seen in our dimension, so that this is a way we can connect and get in. It's easier for us to get into their world. And in nature being culture, an artist in their dimension is working with matter as a living, so they see the energy, they are the energy, and they can work with a tree or a rock, and it's still living. Humans need to cut down the tree or chip away the rock to create something. But they don't, and they create art that changes. I've recorded enough of these over the years, I've watched them evolve. And what happens is that a lot of even botanists, they say, we don't know how burls are formed. These are called burls, a lot of them. And they form. Well, a lot of times the nature beings are using the formation of a particular species in order to create an art form. It's like we would use clay one way, and another person might use clay another way, or so they're species focused. And like in a pine tree, they incise the image in there, and you can see it's like butter, that running a finger through butter. If it's an oak tree, they'll use burls. If it's a London plane tree, that's a very undulating bark, and they just shape it. So they're working with this energy, and they can create very detailed and complex images, which when I find, I really treasure. An accomplished artist is like saying, "Oh, that's a Picasso of the tree world. Let me get a image of that."
So, since you brought up the topic of non-duality, and both you and Gary seem to be into the idea of non-duality, how do you see non-duality in your work?
Well, it's very interesting, Stefan, because uh, the work that I do, I'm working with the angels and I'm working with these cosmic energies. It's very, very vast. And then I'm trying to explain it to people. And what I have to do is I have to carve it up as per the discipline I'm discussing it with, and describe myself in the terms related to that. So if I'm talking to philosophers, I might do non-duality. Now, if I am talking to Quakers who are very grounded, then I'm what's known as an extrovertive, unitive mystic. And if I am talking to spiritual people, I would say I'm an animist. And if I'm talking to the quasi-scientific or the parapsychologists or the dowsers, I say I'm an interdimensional communicator and an energy worker. So these are all ways that we take what we do and we try to define what it is. And the reason I can do it, it's a non-dual purpose, because there's only one consciousness with many, many, many aspects. So I'm just choosing what aspect of that one consciousness I want to use to help another person enter into this experience themselves. I want everyone talking to everybody.
I've been trying to find my bridge between my idea of oneness and the concept of non-duality, and I think you just hit the nail on the head by exposing that all is one with these multidimensional experiences happening within the state of oneness. And that kind of makes me feel a lot better about, joining the non-duality bandwagon. And I'm hoping at this point, Gary will jump in here, because I got to tell you, I just got so spaced out in this conversation. And I had all these questions I wanted to ask you, but one of your little gnomes or beings just decided to sit on my shoulder and whisper in my ear, "Go out, my son, go out, go out, go out." And I have. I've gone out, I've gone out, I've gone out. And I need some backup here. So let's get into the non-duality, Mr. Gary.
Come back. Okay, come back. You went way out there. Now come back and welcome to the non-duality crowd. Yeah, the great. I'll tell you something. When we decided, because Atala is such an interesting personality, and I, I've been fascinated with her. I bought crystals from you. I bought crystals. You had a crystal thing going on. I bought some crystals. Anyway, so I said, well, nature spirits, spirit guides, angels. This is not exactly in my wheelhouse. Non-duality, bingo, that's my thing. You could say it's my total thing. I'm comfortable with that. So here's the thing. So I said, let me try to see where, we're going to interview Atala. Let me see where I can plug in, and jump in. So Atala, I played a video of yours. You were speaking to the Theosophical Society, I think, out in the Midwest someplace. And anyway, and at one point, you said it. You said, all in your talk, because you illustrating, you said, and all there is consciousness. I said, okay, bingo, there it is. There's my entree into opening a conversation with Atala, because that's my whole premise too. All there is consciousness. This is it. One thing, and as we alluded to just before, one thing manifesting itself in an infinite, not many, infinite variety of ways, infinite. So therefore, I knew I would be comfortable here, as opposed to I'm not talking to rocks, talking to trees. I mean, no, but within that space of oneness, yeah, it's all happening. And I love, Atala, the way you say, yeah, when you're talking to a philosopher, you're gonna say something, and when you're talking to Quakers, and you're talking, because that is the art. Because some people, when it comes to non-duality, I think the problem with it is some non-dualists, that they just talk from the absolute point of view of whatever, and they don't care who they're talking to, right? So in other words, there's no communication, because there are people saying what are you talking about? But you have a skill. And I noticed that in your talk to the Theosophical Society, you have a skill, way of communicating. Because I know, because when people were asking you questions, they were coming from all different angles, and you handle everyone. You said, well, that's not really my whatever, and then or other ones you would answer directly. So you're very skillful in that way. A few questions I had as you were talking, I want to pop out was, I heard a lot. I've been hearing, well, we always hear a lot about spirit guides. People talk about spirit guides and angels. So it's a different thing. Are you spirit guides and nature beings? Are they synonymous, or is there a distinction?
Oh, a total distinction. All right. This is in this infinite universe. There are many, many, many kinds of life forms that we can hang out with, and they all have different functions. They all are different types. So nature beings are life forms who are taking care of nature, of the environment, our planet. They are not guides. They could be my friend. I have a green man friend, and I have elf friends, and I have gnome friends, and when I'm working with the archangels, and when I'm working with anyone, the first thing, the Melchizedeks, they would not let me go like, oh my God, I'm working with an angel. Oh, please, please. No, it was like, look, we are equals in the universe, we each are different in our, we have different rules and responsibilities. We need to work together. That's the way we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to work together with respect. So, but some of them are, and the group, each profession has guides and guardians for it, you know, law or art or music. And they have beings that, you know, people have always described over the centuries, who come and they know that. And if you want to be good in that area, you can work with that life form who helped develop that and become really, really good at that. But if I wanted to be a biologist, I'm not going to go to the musician spirit guide, because that's not their job. And they say to you, no, I'm sorry, you know, you got to go to my buddy over here who deals with, you know, what you're looking for. So I don't have any kind of it's not a hierarchical thing, and they're always very clear to explain that they need me as much as I need them. If they don't have me, they don't have any human working on this plane who can explain to other people who they are, what they do, how we could work together, how this could be a better place if we all were friends and cooperated.
Yeah, that's so great. And that's the whole key point, I think, about you know, non-duality, is that it totally pulls the rug out from under this whole hierarchical thing. Like, oh, I'm working with Melchizedek, I can never be as great. And they're saying, no, stop that, because that's the whole dualistic thing, the model of like, oh, I'm down here and you know, they're way up there. That whole thing is rebuked. And it's like, we're all here together. We all have, it's like one play, and we all have different roles. So, and as they say in the theater, there are no, you know, there are no small roles, because everything is equally important. So that whole hierarchical model is just blown away. I love it. I love a lot of stuff you're saying. I had a question when you were talking about angels, because I was wondering, because they spoke to you, and Stefan asked you, you know, was in relation to, I guess, I think the nature beings. So it's, you hear the voices inwardly, but is it a language, or is it just an intuitive sense when the angels communicated with you, or when they do communicate with you?
Well, let me tell you this. When I left the yoga group and I moved to the Midwest, all right, and I went from being lockstep with 200 people to being on my own. And so one day I was in my apartment, I was looking out, and I was just looking outside and just feeling I was on my own. And then my spirit guides came to me and they said, so how you doing? And I said, fine. He says, well, how are you feeling? I said, well, it's fine. I'm a little lonely. And they said, well, thanks a lot. And I went like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. These are real life forms I'm talking to. They're not pretend. They're not my imagination. There's not something I conjure up and I say goodbye and I go and I come. These are real beings. And so now, inside myself, it's like an infinite universe that I go in and I look. And when I send out the thought form and the frequency of the being that's my friend that I want to communicate with, we connect. And we're connecting beyond time space. So we're in the same space and we're communicating. And for me, that's more authentic than a lot of my interactions on the physical human level. Although I love the human level and I love all my friends and I love the work I'm doing here, but here you can always, you know, you can talk from behind the fence. And when you're talking inwardly, you're talking from your energy. So your energy has to be authentic and flow. It's a little different in those realms.
No, so there's no kind of like posing with these beings. There's no like, as you say, you know, when we meet each other on the physical plane, you know, you're only seeing what I want to show you. But in that realm, with these beings, you know, there are no veils like that. There's no pretense. There's no, you know, looking good or whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all based on the premise that of the Quaker premise of the inner light that's in every being, every life form. It's that it's like at the core of me, at the core of the angel, at the core of the nature being is that spark of universal consciousness that is, in the way that I understand that, is out of the loneliness of oneness, that universal consciousness began expanding, exploring. What can I be? What is it possible? And that's only possible if I give free will to myself, limited free will, to explore. So when I'm talking to, when we're communicating inwardly, we're always doing it from, oh, okay, you're an aspect of the supreme consciousness that I'm connecting to, and aren't you beautiful, and aren't I beautiful, and you know, we're working together.
So let me ask you about the language now.
Mm-hmm.
You said you had a communication. They came to you, asked you how you were doing, and you said you were lonely, and you heard the voice, or they said, thanks a lot. Now, I'm a spiritual romantic. I believe that everything moves, is evolved, and those beings that are evolved on a higher plane have a higher realm of communication value. So thanks a lot. Is that you're feeling that they're saying that? Do you actually hear that voice? Thanks a lot. Because I'm sure some people are going to say, you know, a spiritual being like that or an interdimensional being isn't going to say thanks a lot like a human being would say to somebody else. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah. Yes, because your guides are infinite and conscious. Okay, so I'm going to preface this. When I first started learning how to do this, and they were teaching me, I went to hear, I'm a Melchizedek, I can communicate genetically, I'm a Melchizedek. I can communicate inwardly, and they taught me to go surf through consciousness, right? So I went to hear another Melchizedek who was speaking on intergalactic politics. So I came home, and then I did, this was when I was pretty new at all this, and I did this tizzy. I went like, oh, you said anything I needed to know, you teach me. Well, why didn't you teach me about this intergalactic politics? And then they have this good sense of humor, and there was this like pause and a smile, and then they threw me out in the middle of the universe. All the stars and galaxies and planets were going around. I was going like, and they said, "This universe is a very big place. What you need to know, we will teach you as we teach you. What you don't need to know, we're not going to, you know, it's not something you need to bother with right then." They didn't say all that. They just said, whatever, what you need to know, we will teach you. And then they brought me back in. And then I realized, all right, every little thing that I know, I'm growing. So when at that point, when I moved to the Midwest, they were joking with me. They were just, because I was kind of going, you know, humans, every once in a while, you're just like, hissy fit. Oh, you know. So I was going like, oh, a little bit lonely. And they were going like, oh, thanks a lot. And it was just a joke between us. And they were saying, you know, they said, anytime you want companionship, you want to talk, just call us, we're there. And now that's true. That's what I do. You know, I'm out and looking at these beautiful trees, and I go like, oh, aren't they gorgeous? And the green man, my friend the green man, like come over and say, you know, yeah, let's, you know, let's walk along a bit and enjoy. So
Okay, so two questions here. First of all, you just made it seem so easy that
mhm.
anybody could learn how to do this.
All right.
But before you go into that, could you explain Melchizedek? I used to
Okay.
know that when I was following Drumvalo, I could say that word very well. now that Drumbelow is no longer in my area here. I'm gonna have to call Drumbelow back because I really did understand the whole Merkaba thing when I was listening to him or reading his books. Could you explain the
Sure.
Melchizedek
Yes,
lineage?
I did not study with Melchizedek Drumbelow specifically because my team wanted to teach me directly themselves, and the 3Ms teach directly. They don't, teach through other teachers. Drumbelow, I've read his books, and I totally, wow, he's super. What he's done just with the Flower of Life, teaching people about that is a mega contribution. So, Metatron, Melchizedek, and Michael, there are three aspects of the Supreme that bond together. Metatron sits at the right hand of God. He is the one who constructs the universes, many of the universes. So when I'm undertaking something new and I need to know structure and I'm focusing on that, I will connect into the Metatron energy. Now, when I have the construction in place and then I want to start developing and teaching it and refining it, then I'm working with Melchizedek, who is the philosopher. And he's the one who organizes all this energy and all the information and presents it and is the knowledgeable one. And then when I'm working with it, if I have some difficulties and something happens and I need someone to protect me, then Michael comes because he's the warrior and he comes with his sword and he protects. So, but there's a genetic lineage, so-called, of Melchizedek, that if you're a Melchizedek genetically, then you tie into these abilities that I'm able to do because that's part of your lineage. So for me, it's very easy. Like for someone to, LeBron James to do basketball, it's very easy for him, and it's very easy for me to do this because it's my lineage and in my genetic play. So, but you learn the Melchizedek information, and the Melchizedek is where you learn about the intergalactic language and and how to shift through the universe and all.
Do you have a master's degree?
No, I don't. I went to Swarthmore College, BA in history of art with an English minor. And at the time I graduated from Swarthmore, it was the top rated small college in the United States. So it was very intellectual. I went there because I have never lived or been anywhere where I was not near either an arboretum or a national forest or something where there were trees. My thing is trees. I love trees. I went to Swarthmore because it was an arboretum. When I got there, I found out I had to study. it was a big shock.
How does one know that they are going to be able to practice it or fall into this natural sense? I mean, we know through meditation that if you sit there long enough, you raise up your vibration and it gets to a point where you're actually feeling the energy around you. The bubble starts to expand. You start to feel other things beyond just the physical state. So how can one identify with energy? How does it work?
Okay, so the fact that I'm a Melchizedek has nothing to do really with what it just means I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher, and teachers need students. So, and any kind of energy work, whether you're doing Barbara Brennan or you're doing whoever you're studying with, it's all transmission of energy. An energy worker shows another person, look, this is how you position yourself to perform this action. And once you've transmitted that energy, that understanding, then that other person owns it for themselves and they develop it on their own according to their own personality. So, and that's all that what I do. My job, what I love to do is to take people either on Zoom now, since I can reach more people with Zoom, or I take them out on a walk and I show you how to adjust your energy to see once you know that Rome's there and you've gone to Rome, it doesn't matter where you go else. You can say, oh, let's see, Rome, Rome, Rome. I'm here now. Oh, Rome's there. Oh, I can go like this and get there. So all I'm saying is every single human being has the ability to connect to other people, to other consciousness. And all I'm saying is let's expand this frequency in ahimsa, in love, in non-harm to and respect for all living beings. And when we do that, it enriches our own life, it enriches our planet, and it helps the lives of everybody. So, and that's simple. It's a simple transmission. Like one time at one of my events, all right, I love it. I love it when the men, this is now the men are doing it too, but about 10 years ago, this man was very good. He came with his wife. He was clearly supporting her at my workshop. And he came in and he was there. All right. You know what that means, right? And he said the whole time like this. And I went like, well, I sure didn't get through to that one. Well, I got an email from him 2 days later. And he said, I just have to tell you that I was shaving this morning and I looked out the window at my favorite tree and she was looking back at me. So, you
Wow.
know, it's like breakthrough. All the humans need to know is it's possible. We've been told since childhood, these little babies are going, they're looking at something, right? And then they're little kids and they're talking to their angels or their fairies. And then finally their parents say there are no such, there is no Santa Claus, there is no fairy, there is no, you know, and then they say, oh, okay. And when next time their angel or the fairy comes to them, they say, no, you're not real. Mom and dad said you're not. So we just need you to say, all right, Angel, I told you to shut up. It's a free will universe and you are of the light, so you had to obey what I said. Don't talk to me. The dark forces don't have to obey, so they can come in, but the light, they have to obey. So you just say, all right, Angel, you know, would you please come back in and talk to me? I really want to talk. I really want to connect again. And it's as simple as that. And then they come forward from trying to having to pretend they're just a thought in your head to being this beautiful, embracing angel wings that you can communicate with and make a lot of progress by connecting to.
How do people connect with you if they're interested in your teaching?
Well, they can go to my website, which is atalatoy.com. And there's a connection sheet there, and they can email me. I have a newsletter that I send out once a month, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, and there I'm emphasizing the nature beings. So it's truths the nature beings have told me, or you know, nature beings around the world, and then I do give a number of workshops on Zoom each year. Infinity Foundation in Chicago sponsors them, and also and other teams, the Dowsers and the Labyrinth Society, and also I have post where I'm going to be in my website. People can connect with me that way.
Good.
And
I'll put a listing underneath. I'll list your website underneath this YouTube video so people will have direct connection to it. Gary, did you want to say something?
do you do one-on-ones, Attila? Like if someone wants like a consultation, one-on-one?
No, I used to do that many years ago, and you know, and I've helped people cross over, and I've helped people connect with their guides and all. But now I work more in a broader sense and in a workshop in which each person I'm connecting to and helping them. You know, I keep my workshops fairly small for that reason.
You mentioned earlier that the nature beings said we're really mucking it up and we better get on the stick. So is there any kind of prognosis? They say like you've got like 3 years to straighten this thing out. Is there any kind of a prognosis from the nature beings or from the 3Ms?
No, they don't really work that way. You know, what they've said is, you know, things can turn on a dime. I mean, that you can just, if it's the wish of some of the higher beings, we have a lot of intergalactic forces that are, and cosmic forces that are helping Earth, and but there's hope everywhere, and I focus on that. So I've never explored the other. Everything, options are open, but if we don't start watching for our Earth, it's getting to the tipping point where the nature beings have said they can't on their own correct all this garbage that the humans are exacting on this Earth. And so it's critically important at this point for everybody who does Earth work to get out there and to say, you know, we have to respect each other, and respecting each other doesn't mean just humans. You have to respect the food chain, you have to respect the Earth, you have to, and treat people in a loving communal way. We're all in this together. If we don't, then we all suffer. So that's why the nature beings they are actually moving forward into our dimension more, seeking people to help, each in their own way, like a botanist or a chemist or whatever it is. They want to work with us. So in that area, we're getting the tie and we're cleaning things up and restoring balance on Earth.
Great. So you mentioned that I think it was Melchizedek who is at the right hand of God, and that triggered a whole thing from Christian background of like Jesus being at the right hand of God. So the three M's are up there, and I know that at least in the Bible there's a connection between Michael the archangel and Jesus. Does Jesus figure in any way in this whole let's say scheme of things involving the three M's?
Okay, so sitting at the right hand of God, that also has a lot of different levels of existence, all right? So at the Christ level, Christ is sitting, the Christ consciousness that goes around this whole globe and that people can tap into it at all different levels, all right? He's at the right hand of God. On a cosmic level, talking about unmanifest to manifest, the energy that is taking the unmanifest and bringing it into manifestation, into form, is the Metatron energy. You see, so it's not, doing this work, some people would work with Buddha, some people would work with Krishna, Ramakrishna, any of the energies. They're all valid for that lineage that's come down through them.
So, can interdimensional communication help in resolving personal challenges? And if so, how?
What do you mean? You mean like
So if well, you have to be in a certain kind of consciousness in order to experience these interdimensional beings, or do they just show up if you are one that has the ability to do it and you're having problems in your life? I mean, I guess I'm being confused here with my own question. I use AI to find questions to ask about these things. So these questions that I've asked you have all been produced by ChatGPT based on the input I put into ChatGPT, because I knew nothing really about what you were going to talk about. So one of the things that it came up with is under the heading of spiritual and personal growth. And in that, and I'll just read you the three things that it says, so maybe this will make it more clear. The first thing under that topic was, how has your work with interdimensional realms influenced your understanding of life, death, and the soul's journey? That was one. Then, can interdimensional communication help in resolving personal challenges? And if so, how? And then finally, under the spiritual and personal growth category, In what ways do you see the human collective consciousness evolving in relation to the spirit world and nature as a whole? Now, I know there's a lot to unpack there, but does that explain it a little bit better?
It is, and I would love to do hour session on either of those, any of those.
Listening to you has put me in a meditative state to such an extent that I was having a kind of challenge between the questions that I wanted to ask you and just being in a state of high. The topic itself has lifted me outside my body, and I'm kind of like floating out here. So I'm trying to grab back on to the reality of the questions to ask you. And yet I'm feeling such joy sitting outside here in this trance state that I have to now kind of like pull myself down and refer to this list of questions I have. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. And
Well,
I'm
go ahead.
I'm just going to go back to, the basis of the challenges and how it can help. This is one of the most interesting topics I've had to work with. One reason is because I've actually had the experience myself with interdimensional beings. So I'm looking for guidance here from you.
I like to always encourage people to keep on with the people that have I like to encourage them to keep listening to you and your podcast. I mean that.
Okay. So, so what can we, all of us, do to further this cooperation between humans and angels and the 3Ms and the nature spirits? What can we do?
What we can do to connect is actually, as I'm sure you guys know, we're moving into the cycle is going up, the spiral is going up. We're moving up out of the Kali Yuga into this golden age, and in a mere 13,000 years, we'll be up there. So I think it's really important for everyone to allow for the possibility that there are other life forms in the universe that have other abilities and that may have be waiting to work with you. If you are a botanist, if you're an artist, if you're a sports person, there are energies that have spent eons specializing in that particular quality. And if you just call on them to work with them, not for them, and not have them work for you, but with them, then we can expand the sense of cooperation between dimensions, and we can expand the abilities of humans in our Earth. And that would be my recommendation to everyone. Just the next time that you think that you hear a flower talking to you or your animal talking to you, don't just say, oh, it's my imagination. Just say, perhaps that animal is, and then let's see how I can connect to it, improve it. And a real authentic guide or help from the other dimensions, they will always ask you to test them, because the only ones that will not ask you to have utter faith that they can do what they say are the dark forces, because the forces of the light, they know what they can do, and they want you to to grow by working and utilizing them correctly. So the next time you hear it, say, well, who are you, and how can we work together? Okay.
That's a wonderful way to end this beautiful conversation. Atala, thank you so much. We are going to continue at some future date with more of this conversation because it's so broad. There's so many things we can talk about. But I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll
Well,
see
it's
you
a
next time.
pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be in the presence of you two. You're both two of my favorite people, have been for decades and decades and decades. So it's nice to get together with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Atala, and you really opened my eyes about a lot of things. That the 3Ms, the nature spirits, all that. I'm definitely want to know more. So let's do another one, at least one more of these podcasts.
Very good. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. All right, take
Bye.
care.
Thanks, Atala.
Namaste.
So that was wonderful, man. And I have to tell you, Gary, it really did take me out.
I could see it. No, I was looking at you. I said, "Where's he going? Come on, we need him back. We need him to do the interview." No, I saw you going out. I saw it because you went into like a meditative thing. I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to do this alone." No, it was amazing because I'll tell you, this is the one interview we've done. I went into it with a little bit of trepidation because when we talked with Jerry Katz and John Aston about non-duality, hey, I could jump right in. But when I knew Atala was going to talk about nature spirits, spirit guides, angels, I said, uh-oh, where? But it was amazing, and I got so much from this. I can't wait to play it back. Amazing.
But Gary, we were both in that state because I really didn't have any idea, what to ask her. And I found that a little more than halfway through this thing, I started to get that buzz of I'm not here.
I saw that. It was on your face. And your eyes were going like, uh-oh. So no, that was amazing in itself that she had that effect on you because nobody else has that we've
Right.
You've been very present every time we've had somebody. You've been right there. We've been very present, and then today you were like, yeah, you were just in another zone.
Yes, I was hanging out with the interdimensional beings.
The 3Ms.
From that, the 3Ms, the 3Ms.
I love it. Well, I learned so much.
Wow.
I learned
Yeah.
so much. Definitely, we want to have her back and talk about that interdimensionality thing because that's a whole other area that I would like to know about because
Yes.
it's off my charts or out of my wheelhouse, whatever the expression is. It's not in my wheelhouse, but it's all great stuff, and I can tell that Atala knows whereof she speaks. She speaks with authority, and it's not like, oh, I read it in the book and I have this idea and these great ideas. No, she's talking from her own experience with angels, with Melchizedek and the other M's and nature beings. I want to find out who the green man is. I got to ask her next time. I didn't want to jump in. I want to find out who the green man. She says the green man is my friend. Next time we get her, I'm going to ask her about the green man.
Well, you know what? Like you had said before, she is the experience. So she's gotten to that state where it's no longer
That's right.
just a
She's not doing
human being.
She's not doing it from her head. Like, oh yeah, no, she's just like talking, boom. But immediately, every question we asked her, boom, she just pumped. She just started talking, and I knew it was spontaneous, and it wasn't like, oh, let me see what I said in that book. No, it was right from her. Yeah, right from her being.
It was beautiful. So
Great.
let's tell us about our next guest, Julie Desch.
Okay, our next guest is Julie, and Julie, I love Julie. I've known Julie a long time. Julie is a long time seeker finder type. She's got a whole wealth of experience in life and in her spiritual journey. She's a teacher of the Unified Mind Meditation course. She's done MDMA healing journeys, which I've done, and that's why I'm really interested in talking to her, comparing notes with her. She's got a wealth of experience, and she's a really down-to-earth person. She's not a spiritual teacher. She's not anybody with But to talk to her, boy, I think we're going to have another one of these things like, oh my God, this is a great one. But we'll see.
As long as I can float up there and you can hold the string, the tether, then I can look down at the down to earth people. And then when you can start to pull me down, towards the earth, I guess that's why we are together. So
that's why we're Dean and Jerry. Okay. And or Ollie and who's the other guy? Stan and Ollie. Whatever.
Stan and Ollie.
Abbott and Costello. But no, because I said, oh my God, I'm gonna have to man the ship now. Anyway, that was good. I like that because you know what? It just showed that things are spontaneous. You didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't know that was gonna happen. That just happened. And so I love these things because we never know what's gonna happen, really.
Yeah. Okay. Till next time.
Okay, don't forget to tune in. Julie Desch next time. We're gonna have as much fun. I hope we have as much fun. I think we will, as we did with Atala. That was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing.